Hey, what's up guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. A Return to School, Tensura x COTE, by Asuryii. Chapter 1, All for Entertainment, third person. Hey Seal, how long has it been since something interesting happened in the cardinal world? Rimuru had an expression that spoke volumes on the condition he was in. He was bored. Again. Rimuru, it's been 100,000 years since Diablo's Holy War ended, and the Tenma War was 1,000 years before that. The woman sitting upon Rimuru's lap spoke in a calm and soft tone. This woman was Seal, a former basic Manas and prior to that an ultimate skill. She was a divine beauty, the likes the world had never seen. She made those considered to perfect beings with no flaws average. Her silky metallic silver-blue hair shimmered and glowed with a divine radiance. Her skin was porcelain white and absolutely flawless. Her eyes glowed with inquisitive blood-red eyes that the more you looked into the further you fell into their gaze. Then to top it all, of her body had a perfect hourglass shape, while she had the ability to change it at will. She was a beauty that could take on any shape and size, but no matter the looks, she simply exuded perfection and divinity. It really has been a long time, hasn't it? Rimuru spoke, letting his words trail off as he had a look that showed he was deep in thought. Let me guess, Rimuru, time for another adventure. It has been a while and I myself am feeling quite bored. Seal spoke in a confident voice that could to outsiders to the conversation come off as narcissistic and egotistical, but it was far from the truth. She was simply absolutely confident in her answer, because this was not the first time and would certainly not be the last. You know me so well. I suppose that is one reason why I love you. Rimuru stopped midway through his thought to look towards Seal and flash her a loving and warm smile. The two had been through this conversation more times than they could count. So he continued on. How many different timelines and worlds have we gone through by now? This was more of a rhetorical question, as Rimuru knew the answer but still said it, as he loved to hear his partner's voice whenever she answers questions he has. Whether he wanted an answer or not. This time will make 100 million Rimuru. She spoke with a small smile on her face as she nudged her head into the crook of Rimuru's neck, asking for a head pat. He knew her request and complied almost immediately as a smile grew across his face at his affection-hungry partner. That's right, we did have a promise for this milestone, didn't we? Yes, we did, Rimuru. It's time for you to go to a random Earth reality and live out a life there. That does ring a bell. Rimuru knew this was the content of the promise. He just likes to play dumb, as having absolutely perfect memory and being a literal god made this absolute child's play, sifting through memories of millions of realities. I can't believe it's already reached 100 million. We really get bored a lot. Rimuru at this statement wore a blank, self-deprecating look. He no longer thought or acted like a human, but he still tried to. After all, some of the realities they went to demanded special thought processes and abilities that required Rimuru himself to do all the processing that Seal would normally do. Rimuru, thinking back, I can only laugh at the timeline where you were learning to control Azathoth by yourself. A small cute chuckle was released from Seal as she reminisced on the past memories she and Rimuru had. I remember the time when I had gotten Manas, Lucia, Velda, Michael, and Sharona. The return of the skills to my main body and yours, and my irritation at the sudden influx of opinions forcing you to become a Supremus Manas. Rimuru now wore a grin expression as he remembered Seal beating the shit out Rimuru for watching her become a Supremus Manas on her own, not helping. I vividly remember your face in horror as you got your due punishment. Seal raised her head and looked towards Rimuru with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It was for a moment, but Rimuru felt absolute fear in that moment before she returned to her spot in the crook of his neck. Well, since I will be a baby for a while and it is a milestone, we should talk about things from our adventures. This was a normal conversation for the two that they had after every 1 million realities or timelines. Just to keep things interesting, they made some minor and major changes to each timeline so the two could enjoy talking about it upon their return. Most realities had limited memories and abilities. The rule of thumb was generally they would either send Rimuru with memories of his first boredom after the Tenma War or something along those lines. Though there were also times they just made a whole new timeline from the start or before. It only took 500,000 realities for you to stop trying to turn me into a woman without my permission. Rimuru let out a small wry chuckle only to get a pouting seal, which pleased Rimuru as he wanted to see her adorable pouting face.
Well, I can't help it. I just need people to recognize your beauty. Though after so long I realized men hitting on you is far worse than women. Seal slightly shivered at the thought as she distinctly remembers the last time she forced Rimuru as a woman. What he did to a man who incessantly hit on him was a wake-up call to say the least.
Haha. Yeah, that was the one time that I was far worse to deal with than you, Ultima, or the true Dragon Sisters. Plus me being male fits your fetishes almost perfectly. Seal blushed embarrassed at the last comment Rimuru made, but she definitely agreed. Male Rimuru fit her fetishes far better than female. Oh, I haven't asked this before, but I need to know. Seal sat up as she stared Rimuru in the eyes with her arms wrapped around his neck. Who was the best at certain relationships? Seal looked at Rimuru curiously. She already knew the answer, but hearing it was a different story. Rimuru knew what she meant too. She was referring to lovers and the like. Minus you. Seal only nodded as she knew that she was the best in all categories he could mention. So how about you give me women who I had a relationship with in a timeline, no matter how many, and I will say my thoughts in order. Ciel's face lit up so brightly that stars palled in comparison. Rimuru sighed inwardly as he knew his partner would do something with this information, like parade it over other timelines and realities. Go in this order, since the amount of relationships you had with them is in this order, descending for the ones I am curious about. Velzard, Velgrand, Luminous, Testarossa, Elmesia, Shuna, Chole, Milam, Hinata, Shizu, the other primordial demonesses, Kumara, and Lucia. You didn't mention it, but for your curiosity, since I know you want to know. Me and Ramirez don't mix. Sheehan is impossible no matter how many cooking skills she has. Then as for others like Frey and Trainee, it was a matter of ways of life being too far off and just not mixing emotionally at all. I did notice those thoughts after those timelines. You'd always say Ramirez belongs with Veldora more than anything. Sheehan was too aggressive, impulsive, and could never cook but always subjected you to it. Then as for Frey, it was she'd be better with carrion and you hate sleeping on a tree branch. While Trainee was just problematic, as you said. Those seem about right. Ramirez, after losing her true form, is a pain in the ass, and not losing it, she's straight up just smart and destroys any images I have of her. Rimuru could only sigh remembering those timelines and the fact that he always said even in the timeline this is not right. Which is why those timelines always ended earlier than planned. Now Rimu. Stop delaying the start of the list. I will prepare all necessary aspects to reincarnate you directly into an Earth. It's been a while since we went to a normal Earth. Seal had a look of absolute excitement plastered on her face. She definitely had bad intentions with this, but it intrigued Rimuru, and seeing her happy made him happy. Rimuru knew this would cause problems when she paraded this over others, but he loved each and every one of the people he was in a relationship with. That's why seeing them all happy made him happier than anything. Besides, those other timelines that were never annihilated still have happy times. Before that, I am glad we made an agreement to absolutely no male relationships. I get shivers at the thought of fulfilling guys' desires. Though I do remember times you tried other relationships and it never ended well to my pleasure. Rimuru was shivering at the thought of being a partner to the men he knew, even if he was in a female form. Yeah, I am glad we made that a ground rule and agreed before this all started. Though as for the timelines where I tried to start a relationship with others, it was a tragic existence. Guys were absolutely horrid, but the few women were fine. The only time where it was no issue was if you were a part of the relationship. Yeah, those timelines fell flat fast and soon came to the second ground rule. Seal refuses to be in a relationship with another male and only accepts female ones under the condition Rimuru is a part of it. It only took 8 timelines, 2 with guys and 6 with women, for this to come into effect. I am glad this rule came to and I never had to engage the guys at all. I am too, as even my limited memory counterparts annihilated those timelines, the guy ones, before they could even try to kiss you or share space with you. No more delays, start Rimu. Okay, well, Velzard first off was a very loyal partner. I would say one of the most loyal, in fact. She was fun to spend time with and build a relationship. She was definitely a great wife, empress, and girlfriend. If I had to rank her, I'd say number 2 as a wife, number 3 as an empress, and number 3 as a girlfriend. I'd say out of the ones listed, she was definitely tied for number 1 among them overall. The issue she has is she is awful at discipline and far too caring in the wrong timelines. Seal looked at Rimuru with a curious look at the last sentence, leading Rimuru to elaborate. You know how she is with Veldora, but when disciplining her kids she is far too soft. Though I can't speak as an overprotective father, I did at least learn after a while of being told off. Then too caring, I am referring to Guy. In the timelines where he was an asshole and a prick 85% of the time she wouldn't see it. Rimuru had a pitiful crestfallen look on his face at his words. He would have gone on to explain more, but he couldn't. After all, she was the one he spent more and more time with compared to the rest. She was second to Seal in time spent with Rimuru. He, even in the original timeline, not married or in a relationship with her, hated to talk negatively about her and her decisions. Rimuru has experienced so many realities and timelines that his strength cannot even be quantified or calculated. Seal only gives him vague summaries, as the VOTW cannot even comprehend Rimuru's strength. Rimuru and Seal are literal gods in the truest sense. He perfectly sealed his omniscience and omnipresence just so he could experience time with those he loved. He never got rid of it, and at any point he can take it back, he just never has had a need to. Rimuru is strong to a point that sealing his omnipotence will do little to no good. Rimuru has a soft spot for certain timelines above all others, and those timelines are the ones with Velzard and Velgrund. He always does what he can to keep those timelines going because of the immense joy and happiness he can see in them. Once a timeline goes too far and begins to do the same thing he is doing, they disappear almost immediately. This is the third ground rule. If a timeline sends itself into a new timeline or reality more than 5 times, it will cease to exist. This is so that strength in these timelines doesn't grow to affect the original. Despite surpassing the VOTW, Rimuru still doesn't like to have overlaps in the various timelines. The timelines with Velzard and Velgrund almost always reach a state where they agree to finally rest, or they live out till the cardinal world's end. It was never a ground rule, but in timelines where Rimuru loses his partner, he generally ends it so he of that time may rest with them. Any timeline will only exist as long as Rimuru wills it to last. The moment he wishes it not, the course to the end will start, and all soon will return to the void. Rimuru goes to new timelines and worlds so he may spend more time with those he truly loves. Sometimes Rimuru goes to a new world and loves an inhabitant of that world, but those relationships will always only last for the time spent in that world. This was something Rimuru told himself many times, as he doesn't want millions of lovers. If he brings a woman from another reality or worlds to the cardinal world, that reality will cease to exist. It is sad, but Rimuru, in order to prevent issues from occurring, made those realities' emotions impossible to affect him in his real body. This is a good way to think of it. He goes to a new world, falls in love, then eventually dies. This reality, world, timeline will only affect Rimuru as a reality TV show or a manga would. It is the same for Seal as she looks at these timelines. It is just someone with Rimuru's memories and experiences living his life. Rimuru loves every person Seal mentioned, just different amounts, which is also why he doesn't pursue them outside the other timelines and realities. Because he knows in his reality they're happy and he should leave them to their lives, not trying to give them his love. Some Seal mentioned may be pursuing Rimuru, but he won't pursue them for the sole reason that he can't bring himself to. Rimuru. Rimuru looked up at Seal expectantly, as he knew it was serious when she called him Rimuru and not Rimu. Seal pulled him into a hug and scratched his head gently, reassuring him that it was okay before she spoke. There is no need to think about it now. In this reality they're happy. You made sure of it. Guy and Rudra aren't using Velzard and Velgrund as toys for their games. They never cheated on them, and they have taken relatively good care of them. Rimuru let out a few tears as Seal embraced him lovingly. Rimuru loved them with all his heart, but he knew in this timeline they weren't in love with him. So he sat back and made this timeline absolutely perfect in regards to their relationships with Guy and Rudra. Guy in this reality never saw her as a pawn, a tool. He never pursued other women, as he always didn't understand his feelings for Velzard. She was a partner and friend to a lover. Rudra never got with his maids at any point in time. Possessed or not, he didn't think of her as a tool or pawn, but a partner and soon a lover. He wouldn't pursue other women despite Velgrund never actually marrying him. Rimuru wasn't considered a brother by the two, as they realized he was a true dragon but not one of Veldanava's true dragons. So he manipulated their mind, body, soul, and memories to always see him as a younger brother. Veldora saw Rimuru as a brother and friend always, Before Rimuru changed their perception, they saw Rimuru as a friend. Another true dragon, coincidentally. So to ensure no issues with their happiness in this reality, he changed their perception. It agonized him as he himself obliterated their possible perception of him as a man, all so they could stay happy with their first loves. Some timelines they never fell in love with Guy or Rudra, but in Rimuru's successful timeline they did. So he accepted and made everything perfect for them. Rimu, you did what you felt was correct and made them happy. You didn't try to build a relationship with them. You gave them a perfect relationship. I know it hurts to see them with other people, but you can at least smile knowing they're happy. It took a few minutes, but eventually Rimuru calmed himself so he could finish Seal's curious question before they start the next life. I'm good, so I'm moving forward. Velgrand was loyal just as Velzard was, and very understanding. She was helpful with political issues right from the start and was amazing as a mother. She was number 1 as a wife, number 2 as an empress, and number 5 as a girlfriend. She was tied as the best with Velzard. Her issue was she too trusting in certain people like Vels was. Facepalm, I just said Vels, didn't I? You did. Seal didn't particularly care as old habits die hard. She knew it would come out and slip up the name he called Velzard when they were together. She was used to it as it happened a few times even with other women. She just hated the fact that he'd hurt himself over it every time he'd slip up and use their nicknames. I noticed you're not rating them as partners in bed. Rimuru gulped at these words. He could do it so easily, but it felt so wrong to him. So he moved on, acting like it was a joke. Seal was serious and she wanted to know. This was the real reason for the conversation, as she never could create an understanding on this topic. Seal was, in a word, lustful, and the more she knew the better for her. After all, Supremus Manas have genders and Seal is a female. Rimuru is a male and the target of her desires. She wants to best him, as she always ends up being dominated. Every time. Luminous is freaky and a sex fiend. She is constantly horny and has infinite amounts of kinks and fetishes. Overall rating, first she was number 3. As a wife she was number 4, an empress number 4, and number 2 as a girlfriend. Her issues too horny, and she was a decent mother but sucked in discipline and opted for someone else to handle it. Testarossa was really fun to be with, as she has different sides depending on the time period. She was an amazing mother, a good partner, and slightly less kinky than Luminous. Wife number 5, empress number 6, and number 1 girlfriend. Overall I'd say number 4. Her issue is that she feels undeserving. Interesting. Hee. Rimuru just ignored what Seal said, as he already knows this will go very wrong for him. Elmesia was very well-rounded as a partner and fun to be with on all fronts. So ratings would be as a wife number 3, an empress number 1, and girlfriend number 6. She likes to tease and make jokes. We both hate paperwork, but a system makes it easy. Her issue is the fact that she knew I had an elf fetish and used it against me. Great mom, really caring. I want to finish this quicker. Sashuna was number 9, Chole was number 6, Milam and Lucia were tied for number 8, Hinata was number 10, Shizu was number 5, and the other primordial demonesses were number 11. The demonesses all had similar endings, so I grouped them up. Shuna was helpful, but I preferred her as a friend more than anything, and Benimaru was horrifying as a brother-in-law. I made one small mistake and he and Shuna were on my ass. Rimuru sighed as he remembered when Benimaru forced him to eat Shien's cooking because he couldn't finish his paperwork on time. Chole just had the issue of constantly turning into her child form, making the relationship hard because she wanted to be a lover, but since she kept using her child form I kept seeing her as a child, and then she'd get mad and then Leon and Guy would get on my ass. Guy many because he likes to be a pain in the ass. On top of it, the Luminous would seduce me even more and cause me trouble on purpose. Simply put, too much stress. Milam did eventually become more mature, but she still had moments where it was far worse than when she would just act as she pleased. She tried too hard to be an empress when I only asked her to be herself. Overly doting mother, kids way too spoiled. Lucia was stupid intelligent and a great mother, but she was terrifying. I can only imagine what happened to Veldanaba after he had the VOTW read her a poem. I didn't do that, and I still felt if she disciplined Veldora he'd never act up again. Hinata was fun, but being a Tsunere gets old really fast and irritating. Then add Luminous seducing me and Chole being overly jealous more than usual, and it's a lot. Bad at discipline, goes too far. Shizu was just great overall, no major issues. She just gets overprotective at times when you don't need her to be. Chole caused a ton of issues using this to her advantage, making Shizu beat the shit out of me. Kumara was horny and in heat, but she was cute. Fun partner. To many kids. The demonesses have similar issues for most. Too destructive, can't sit still, or get bored easily. As mothers out of those four, Rain is the only good one. Rain is great but much better as a best friend. Ultima is better as an energetic little sister. Carrera was fun. Just too destructive and easily bored. Misery was quiet. Very quiet. We had the least relationships out of the four. I had the most with Rain, Carrera, Ultima, and then Misery in that order. This was a very successful questioning. Now Rimu. Favorite? Also don't act dumb, you know what I mean. Seal gave Rimuru a cold glare. She wasn't letting this go. Not at all. You mean sex, don't you? Rimuru sighed. He knew he had no escape. Seal would get her answer and then show it to everyone in some form. Seal liked to watch Rimuru suffer in embarrassment because of his later reactions. Though Seal also wanted to take notes from what he said. Rimuru looked to Seal and pleaded to get no escape, so he resigned himself to his fate. Velzard's cold body was heavenly. Velgrand using cardinal acceleration was effective. Testarossa had teasing down to a science. Luminous had mastery of Asmodeus, but you have life and death manipulation down on a higher form. Lastly, Elmesia was simply erotic. Seal had a massive smirk on her face. Velgrand and Velzard's true form were a sight for sore eyes. The vibes they gave were unmatched. Rimuru was looking away as he spoke that last statement because he knew Seal would be wearing her signature fact smile and he had no intentions of paying it mind. Seal got her answer, and one she probably didn't want. Don't worry Rimu, I won't do anything. Right now at least. After all, I'll get you back later. When you're done adventuring in this existence on Earth, I will get you in full. Though I will give you tastes along the way. Seal whispered these words seductively into Rimuru's ear. He knew he was in for it. Though this excited him at the same time as it made him feel immense anxiety. But see Rimu, you forgot one thing. You have a second wife who will help me with this when she wakes up. Rimuru's face went completely pale at the mention of his second wife, who came to be by complete coincidence. Seal had a massive smirk now. She basically had Rimuru in checkmate. You don't mean that after this, she'll... Yes, I do mean that Rimu. Azathoth, or should I say Azza, is waking up again soon. Who is Azza? Well, remember the fact that Rimuru had to learn to control Azathoth without support, and Seal became a Supremus Manas. After her evolution and Rimuru's mastery of the skill, along with several small conditions being met. Azathoth was given consciousness and became a Manas. Her personality is very carefree and confident, almost narcissistic, but she loves sleeping an absurd amount. She lives in her human form in Rimuru's undefined space. The final upgrade of the imaginary space. This space is beyond the VOTW understanding, so its name cannot be spoken. Just as with most of Rimuru's skills, they can no longer be defined by regular means. Her sleeping habits are so bad to the point the time difference inside the space versus the outside world is 500,000 years for every second. Even with this time difference, she only wakes up every 50-ish years. The reason Rimuru is so worried is her habits when awake. She is extremely intelligent, not to the level of Seal, but smart enough that only Rimuru and Seal can beat her in arguments. That though isn't what Rimuru fears, it's her extreme taste for chaos and insatiable appetite. Her appetite goes beyond just gluttony and into the realms of greed and lust. All Rimuru has to do is survive 100 years. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. Her desire for chaos puts Rimuru's Demon Lord title of Chaos Creator to shame. Then you think, okay, 100 years in that space would be easy. Wrong again. It's 100 years by the time of the outside world. The worst part for Rimuru though is the fact Azza and Seal get along perfectly. If Seal is an angelic goddess, then Azza is a chaotic demoness. She has silky hair as black as the void and demonic blood-red eyes. While on her face is an ever-present seductive glow. Veldora is afraid of his sisters and Seal for their punishment. If he dealt with Azza, he'd think they were absolute angels doing the least amount of punishment possible. Rimuru remembers a timeline she absolutely erased because they interrupted her while she was having a taste of Rimuru.
It may sound like a mercy, but for everyone who had a hand in the interruption, it was anything but a mercy. It was the worst devil and experience they came across.
Did I mention Aza has control of time? So should she want more time with Rimuru, she can just make it possible. The best part of this all is Aza only goes to sleep after 100 years if she feels like it. So should she decide she'll just stay longer, she will. I wonder, should I revive Veldanava to get me out of this one? Rimuru, you revive him and I revive Lucia. I remember you saying he didn't come back on purpose and that he stayed dead for reasons you as a man can understand. So you bring him back, I bring back Lucia. You want to deal with Veldora 2.0 of your choice, I will bring back his seal 2.0. Rimuru froze upon hearing these words. He was hoping she would take it as a joke or didn't hear it. Rimuru knew what seal meant. Veldanava was the same as Veldora, an otaku and a man so intelligent he became stupid. While Lucia was like seal, intelligent and disciplined her partner. It was funny, the strongest being and the former strongest were two men whipped by their partners. Don't worry Veldanava, I know why you won't revive. You don't want the whipping you will receive upon your return and to deal with the legendary frying pan, a truly terrifying weapon. Also because of you I have experienced Lucia's angry side. I feel your pain. You're the man of the house and you do the protecting, but you walk in the doors and you ain't shit. I feel you, my friend. You fucking pain in the ass, you know the issues you caused me. I swear though man, you are a moron sometimes. At least I know where Veldora gets it and your childishness went on to Milam. What are you thinking about Rimuru? Rimuru needed a bail so he quickly kissed Seal to appease her. Sorry Velda my guy. Seal probably will read my memories later. Good luck sucker, haha. Payback for the trouble you caused me. Just excited for this life and thinking about how I should have told Velzard and Velgrand about the best way to deal with Guy and Rudra, a fucking frying pan, when I am gone and they need help. Oh, you mean the frying pan? Seal looked at Rimuru with a smirk that screamed gotcha. Oh shit. Well, she's known for an untold amount of years now, so I'm good as long as she doesn't telephone. I left Aza a note about it. I am fucked. Don't worry. We'll use Asmodeus on the frying pan and, though, acceleration. Rimuru had no words, so he put his head back and accepted the entry into the undefined space, while he waited to wake up in his new body. Hee, I get to add more videos and pictures to my Rimu scrapbook. Well, Aza is already waking up, so she'll join me soon. I wonder how many new outfits and looks he'll add to my book. Rimuru couldn't hear that last bit and didn't know Aza would be up soon to explore Rimuru for a bit before he came back to his original body, or she and Seal could pull a prank on him. Rimuru Pav, I happen to have a lot of life experience and I will say one thing. Being a baby is the absolute worst. You get used to it the more you experience it, but still it's awful. Forget keeping busy, you can't even move much if practically at all. I have absolutely perfect control over my body due to my mind, meaning the limiters the brain places on the body mean nothing to me. Even though my movement and ability to control my body is awful, I definitely have far superior control as compared to normal babies, but it's like comparing a unicycle to a bicycle. At the very least I can crawl considerably sooner than normal and begin general processes dealing with life faster. I can start about twice as fast compared to normal babies. This means I can get to more interesting details of each life sooner. Though I can tell this life is already interesting. My parents are nowhere to be found and I can feel a paper card sitting on my legs. It most likely says my name. Well, I know my first name, as in every life it's Rimuru. The name is bound to my very existence and I like my name, so a new one is very unattractive in my eyes. My last name is always for fun is 50-50, so my life I live determines it. I can be born with the last name Tempest or a last name I'm given. Though Veldanava branded his family name onto my soul in one of the timelines, it only happens in worlds Velda or Lucia's soul exist. Well, I suppose I should try to listen to my surroundings to gain an idea of my situation. There is an extra kid. NPC 1. Where did you find him? NPC 2. I don't know, maybe he was just dropped in as a subject. NPC 1. The kid is obviously abandoned or orphaned. NPC 3. What should we do? NPC 1. Contact the professor. Leave the call to him. NPC 3. So it seems I was right about not having a family. This means this life can become absurdly interesting based on the word subject. This is a world where supernatural powers and energy are fiction. No quirks, no magic, no cursed energy, and no key. This means, subject, can refer to a few things. An experiment on raising children and education or an experiment into artificial modifications. What is the problem? You should be doing tests to ensure the state of the fourth generation. A man who I can assume is this professor spoke in an irritated tone while he scoffed lightly. There is another child. NPC 1. Another? So we have 81 kids? He let out a loud irritated sigh, and what I can only assume was him signaling to show him to me as I heard 4 sets of steps walk my direction. So this is him? Rimuru. Family name unknown him. The professor looked at me with a quizzical and curious look as he seemingly pondered for a moment, his sharp eyes fixed on me. I already knew instinctively I was giving him a look that screamed boredom as I looked him in the eyes. I had no need to hide behind a fake curious look before this man. He only had interest in seeing if I was worth the extra effort. Whether I am or not doesn't bother me, as either case will entertain me. This boy. He has no family name recorded. He was in the batch for the 4th generation. He was born the same day as my son on 10/20. He looked me in the eyes, bored, and can seemingly process his surroundings and state. He hasn't cried or fallen asleep since you noticed him, correct? The professor questioned the men who called him here on my abnormality as far as babies are concerned. His eyes glared at me for a moment as they slightly dilated in a way that could be interpreted as curiosity or a dilation correlated to a smirk. The child is as you said. He hasn't cried, fallen asleep, and his face speaks volumes in regards to a look of pure utter boredom. NPC 3. I know I look bored, but I am a damn baby. I can't do anything. Obviously I am bored. This conversation piques my curiosity but leaves me no possible interactions because of my state. Do the tests and give me a report when done. I want to know this child's state. He could have a useful role. The professor quickly barked orders at the 3 men before he quickly stepped out the room. This could be interesting. I wonder what the route this life will take. He mentioned his son, tests, and subjects were mentioned. This is an experimental facility of some sort. I can only guess, so I suppose it is time for the classic. Ozza, I am taking one from your, and Dino's, book. Sleep it is. It's been a few weeks since I heard the conversation about test results, and now they are finally finished. This reaction the professor gives will determine the possible forms of entertainment I can take part in. It will fit perfectly. I will adopt him. The professor spoke in a voice that gave a tone of awe and schadenfreude. This tone told me all I needed to know now. I was in for hell, human standards. I couldn't help but feel curious at what was to happen now. He mentioned he had a son with the same birthday as me in this world. I wonder who of us is the older one. Yeah, I don't care. I am the older one regardless. They don't have to call me big bro or anything like that, but I will say they are my little brother if others ask. Ayanokoji Rimuru. That is your name. Now the government will have less on me because of the plans this kid will fulfill if all goes right. Though I couldn't care less if either he or Kiyotaka die. The professor seems dedicated to this experiment or goal of his, to the point he'd put his own son and an adopted one into it knowing they may die. Kiyotaka, my brother, the professor, Professor Ayanokoji, and this White Room. I am definitely calling this the White Room, regardless of its name. Looks like the 4th generation of the White Room will have it extra hard. NPC 2. Thanks for spoiling my fun, asshole. Funny coincidence, this place is called the White Room and I said I was going to call it that. I've been in many timelines, realities, and worlds. I can already see the potential this one has to be entertaining after all this experience. Seal should start to talk to me soon. This life is starting to peg my curiosity.